in addition to the people who are here,
Can we
if you
find out who
could
they
go
are?
around the room and state your name so Ron can hear.
Annie Selke.
All right.
Can you hear? Ron?
Yep, I'm good.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay, we've got Annie Selke,
Jeff Lynch,
Jeff Lynch,
Mark Volk,
Mark Volk,
Elizabeth Goodman.
Elizabeth Goodman,
Wyndham Hill. Naomi Spatz.
Naomi Spatz,
Stephen Somkin. Wyndham Hill.
Stephen Somkin. How do you spell your last name, please?
SOMKIN.
Thank you.
Jim Crane,
Jim Crane,
Eric Berkowitz,
Eric Berkowitz,
Sandy Bukowitz.
and I'm sorry, your first name?
Sandy.
Sandy Berkowitz. You good?
Marie Raftery.
And Marie is on Zoom. We have Marie, you, Sarah Manukin, Anita Schwerner, Nancy Roof, Robert Sussman, Sally Heck, and Susan and Lewis. I can't read my writing. Sorry. Susan and Lewis Cooper.
All right. That's a lot of people.
Plus, we have everybody in the world on the commission here tonight. Chuck Correr is here, Tom LaBelle is here, Lisa Bizzuto is here, Bill Luttrell is here, Jamie Benassi is here, John Hart is here, and I'm here.
Joe there?
No, Joe, Joe,
He mentioned he probably couldn't make it. He was
he's
gonna
out
be.
of town. He's
Yeah.
out of town.
All right. Gotta be 7 o'clock there because it's 7 o'clock here.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, which I did not attend, but those that were there, please do.
I corrected your spelling.
3, 1.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Any,
And Sally said she'd fix there's a typo, small typo at the top.
Yep, I got that. I went, oh,
been a couple typos lately. I don't think they've spelled my name right in the town report for the last 5 years.
really?
Uh,
I didn't
well,
misspell your name.
All right.
No, I didn't put you down as a alternate either. So,
So I made a motion and Lisa made a second. Do we have everyone in
all in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, first up on the agenda, informal. Do we have a Vincent Park?
I still haven't seen him.
All right,
Can I ask a question?
you can.
Vincent Park lives where? Are these dead trees?
I have no idea.
Either. I'd have to look it
All
up.
right, well, Vincent's gonna have to
That's
tell
what
us.
we went to
Well,
look.
he was going to come, he was going to attend a meeting and he was going to give us the information, but then his wife's mother became very ill and so he hasn't been here.
All right.
All right, something on One Dugway Road for Sarah James Manukin.
Yeah, Sarah's here.
That's correct, and that was the correct pronunciation too. That's rare that someone gets it right on the first try. So I'm really here just informally. We are starting to work on, it's the old Radkai house on Dugway Road. It's been unoccupied for a minimum of 3 years, and there's extensive rot to deal with. There is a little spring and brook that runs right alongside the house and the driveway. We've preemptively put up a silt fence just because there are trucks coming in to start some of the interior demolition and really beginning to do some of the discovery on, figuring out what exactly we have to do to the house. So I wanted to find out more about the process since the spring and the brook are so close. I've also been speaking with Breja McCracken, who's going to help with some of the land restoration. And so she advised me to start talking with all of you so that we can follow the local rules and regulations.
All right. Sarah, is the footprint of the house going to change at all?
Yes, it will. We are going to have to take down the middle section of the house. It's the oldest section of the house, and the framing is built right on the sand, like right on the dirt. And it's completely rotted through in sections, and there just isn't space to get under it to address the foundation issues. And there's just heavy rot on the exterior walls as well. The roof is also beginning to cave in that section. So the plan is to take down that middle section of the house and alter the footprint a little in the center of the house, just coming out a few feet in either direction. I think Sally has the plans, that the current version of the plans, and an existing conditions plan. I unfortunately can't screen share. I have an Apple, and there is an issue with the latest operating system in Zoom, which Apple is trying to address, but it will just come up as black screen if I try to. But Sally does have
What
the
I
plan.
have from you, Sarah, is just the photographs that you took, which are always very helpful, but I do not have a formal plan.
I did send the plans and the existing conditions on the, I think, first email I sent. But there are also some pictures of some of the trees. There are right at the very front of the property on the brook side of the driveway, there is an almost completely dead pine and a hemlock that has an occluded trunk. Two pieces have grown together and it's full of woolly adelgid. And so the few arborists that have come out so far have said those should come down. There is a large pine that is right up against the house. The roots are growing into the foundation. That also is not a healthy tree as well. So I've been told that should definitely come down. And then there is an almost dead apple tree that is just to the left of that pine right in front of the house. There are a few other very small, I think that I was told they're eastern pines, so they're non-native, and they have needle cast, and so an arborist said that those should probably come out as well.
Well, it's kind of down the road, but something for your edification is that there's a neighbor of yours on top of Dugaway Road. If you go up to the left of your house, but if you go straight,
Okay.
who has a brook in his backyard that disappears into a hole. And he and I dumped some green dye in there one day back when the Radkais were living there. And guess where it comes out?
At the Radkai house.
Right.
So that brook goes underground and then pops back up.
Correct. Just so you know.
Fascinating.
So it's going to require a filing of a notice of intent.
Okay.
All of
And
it.
so
Yeah.
what is that process like? I post something in the paper, and then how many
No,
days?
we post it for you.
Okay.
You do is you go online on the DEP website and you look up the wetlands and waterways forms. And
Okay.
you'll find the form for a notice of intent. And
Okay.
you're going to want to fill that out and get it to us. If you get it to me by Thursday, I will advertise it and it will come on the next meeting. If I don't get it by Thursday noon, then it will have to go to the meeting after that.
And when is the next meeting?
The second Tuesday in July.
The second Tuesday in July. Okay. Okay.
Okay?
And
Well-
what is required? So what can we do before that notice of intent and before that approval, and what can't we do until then?
Well, since we have some vague idea of what the property looks like, but you have wetland resources and streams and things there. So anything that's being done within 100 feet of any of those things is not permitted at this point.
Okay.
So you can
But-
continue to do your interior work. That's not a problem because that's not an issue. But the
Right.
exterior, will have to be permitted.
Okay, okay.
Okay?
You have been to the building inspector for all these?
Yes, we've been to the building inspector. He's waiting on a survey, just a plot map, which Kelly Granger Parsons is working on. I think that's ready this week.
I don't think we can get that.
Well, if you can tell Mike to get it to me by Thursday noon.
Okay,
Okay. But it's gonna have to be,
Okay.
it's gonna have to be a notice of intent.
Sally,
Okay.
don't do a jurisdictional on that too? For the builder, for the,
That would be for the building inspector.
well, yeah, but he gives it to us.
Yeah, the
After.
building inspector will give you a jurisdictional form for us to sign off on, but I can pretty much tell you that you need the notice of intent, so.
okay, okay.
All
And
right,
just want to say thank you for coming
Yes,
and
yes.
asking these questions.
Thank you
Before the
for putting me on the
project's
agenda
over
so
with.
quickly.
all right, thank you very much. We'll hopefully see you at the next meeting or someone with drawings, plans. And if we do a site visit, in which we will, we'll need stakes in the ground and mapping and that sort of thing, so we know where everything's gonna be.
And a marking of all the trees that will be.
She's already done the marking of the trees. We actually have pictures. Which I think you should all have, but I'm not positive about that.
Yes, and we've
Okay.
done a water soluble paint on the few trees that are, we went through with the arborist.
All right, and we may ask for some replanting, depending on where we're at and what we see and
Okay,
that type of thing.
great.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Should we schedule the site visit before the next meeting?
No,
We don't usually
Probably
until we receive the plans, because then we have a better sense of what we're looking at.
Okay,
I mean, you will go to the building inspector with your plans. And-
he's already been shown a version of the plans. The contractor has met with him and was told to come back with a survey and a couple of other things. And so that's what we've been preparing to go back to him with.
Okay. Once he receives that, he will have either you, your engineer, your architect, whoever, fill out a form describing the work to be done. That he will submit it to us, which will say to us to go and check the scene out. And just to expedite things, it'd be nice if things were staked out ahead of time rather than wait till you come in here and then we got to go there again. I mean, we're gonna have to go there
Okay,
again.
so
but-
we should stake where like the screen porch and the few parts that will bump out from the current footprint. Okay,
Yes.
we can do that.
And keep in mind when you're planning that if it's going closer to the resource area, it's probably a problem. Depending on how far it is.
It's parallel to it, but it's not going toward it.
Should be okay.
So it's equal, it would be equidistant from the stream. It's not, none of it's going toward the stream. It's all parallel.
We'll see that when we do our site visit. And
Okay.
when we see the plans.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So Ron, you don't have on your agenda that we have an emergency certification request from Beaver Solutions to put in a leveler on the Campusa Brook downstream of Route 7. So we need to vote on that to issue it.
Oh, this is working.
God, it's been over a year.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, so we have it's not on your agenda, it's from Beaver Solutions for a leveler to put in the Beaver Dam on Campusa Brook.
All right,
So we need to vote on issuing that.
Mass DOT is in on this.
I have not heard anything from Mass DOT, but but Mike is issuing or is requesting this emergency certification on behalf of Mass DOT.
All right. Guess we need a vote to approve this.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right. So the beaver deceiver can go in. By the way, who's paying for this?
I don't know.
I'd like to mention to whomever does the work that the old beaver leveler, deceiver, whatever you want to call it, the remains of it, the pipe, are sticking up out of the swamp to the right or to the south of where the beaver deceiver used to be. So, I mean, I think there's an important part of the beaver deceiver that is there if somebody's willing to walk out into the swamp and pick it up and put it back where it came from.
Well, here's the picture of the flexible pond leveler.
Right.
If anybody's interested. So I'm assuming that Mass DOT is because
So that's over here.
he's filing on their behalf.
So this is their project and not a town project?
Apparently,
All right.
We need to find that out.
well, it says on behalf of Mass DOT, so. Okay, then I think that from now on, the agenda that you have is good.
So what I'm not seeing is 2 Interlaken, was it 2 Interlaken? Jamie and I had gone on a site visit.
Or tried.
Tried from the last meeting to look at dead trees,
Yeah, you couldn't find it?
and we couldn't find it, so I'm not sure what happened.
Okay,
To it.
we'll have to figure that out.
It was like 2A.
2A,
Hey, Interlaken,
isn't that the one that's right down by the,
well, we went in every driveway.
Yeah.
And none of them said 2A.
Many people.
and they don't know what? I'll have to go back and research that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have, Sally, do we have a name on that?
I have one downstairs. I can't remember what it is right now.
All right.
Okay, so
All
no,
right. Moving on.
no progress with Han at the moment. No progress with Camp. And then Annie is here for the certificate
Can I-
of compliance.
Anita,
Can I say something? Can I ask a question, Sally? Or
Sure.
Ron, somebody, everybody? So that Wellenkamp notice, wait, what is that for certificate of compliance and the one before have been on the agenda for a very long time.
And the work hasn't been completed.
And nothing has been done and they don't show up. Is there something, don't you have a fine or something? It just seems like they're not taking this seriously. And you've talked in the past that are fines. I mean, do they not need the certificate of compliance? So they figure they'll just not do the work and not show up?
Pretty
I
much.
don't understand.
Anita, he's trying to sell the property. And he
So he
cannot
can't-
sell the property if he gets a, John, go for it.
First of all, I'd like to send them a certified letter, both of them saying, you know, we need to resolve this one way or another. We'd like to see you at the next meeting. However, Wellenkamp's got that piece of property for sale. And there's no way that he can sell it to somebody without getting the certificate of
Not
compliance.
this, well, he's got the other piece of property for sale.
He doesn't own Han,
No, but he's got the one up on, by the,
Beechwood.
yeah, he's got the other one up on, by the boat ramp
Right.
too.
Oh, that's
that's
that way.
his?
183.
Oh, you're right. No, yeah.
So he's gonna have to come into us for that.
He just doesn't like us, you know?
No, it's just disrespectful to the town and to the commission, I believe. To think that you can just cut down trees and then knowing that you're not allowed and then not following through on the replanting. I find it very disturbing.
Anita, I've been disturbed about this since his name first showed up on all damn thing.
So I agree. I think, can we send a certified letter?
Sure.
Okay, I think that would be.
Do we have to vote?
No,
Okay.
To both of
You
them.
know,
To both of
in
them.
particular, Greg Wellenkamp is the town representative to GZA and has been dealing with the dredging for the past 10 years. Maybe that shows something. Nothing's been accomplished. Sorry, but
Sometimes he needs a prompt.
okay.
That's worked in my experience with one dealing with him, a prompt, and he came around. Well, this
Okay.
will be our prompt.
Thank you.
Selkies. Old Stockbridge Road. Scenic Mountain Act. Notice of intent. I've had some discussions on this with planning board people. Who else?
before we get to that, though, we've got the request for the certificate of compliance.
For which one?
Oh, that's true. For the
Yeah.
plant, the 100 fruit trees.
Yep.
We did a site visit. To the best of our knowledge, there's 100 trees there now. Though, what was it? 30 trees that went in, 29 new trees. So we would like to see that they survive. Because the ones that were there didn't.
So if we issue the certificate of compliance, we can have an ongoing condition requiring the health of those newly planted trees.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yep.
That to the extent that the next notice of intent is approved with an order of conditions, that condition be attached to this one, simply so then we're dealing with one order of conditions. We'll have other plantings that are going in. It can be sort of a global, you can.
Aren't they two separate lots, though?
No, it's one lot.
And now it's one lot now.
It's one lot now. The planning board approved a Form A last week.
Marie's nodding her head.
Okay, so Jeff, explain that to me again.
Sure, so
Can't hear you.
there was an application made, we redrew the boundary lines such that 212 Old Stockbridge Road, where Annie's house currently sits, is on its parcel all by itself. We've now taken the barn, the barn parcel will now run all the way down to Lily Pond. And so all of the replanting area that has been accomplished and where we're proposing to build a new house is on a single lot.
So the barn post parcel is now all 218,
Yes,
and that parcel goes down to Lily Pond?
correct.
So this is the building lot. What the
Oh,
hell's on?
wasn't
The middle lot,
Lennox?
The barn is in
They both fronted.
both parcels front in Lennox.
Yeah.
Okay, but it could be one parcel in two different towns?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
so 212 and 226 are one, but 218 is someone else's
Stockbridge and Lennox have different
numbers?
road numbers, so
Oh,
in
okay.
Lennox, it's 212 is the main house. 218 was a house originally
Right.
that was torn down, separate lot, barn was built.
Oh, your barn, okay.
And then in Stockbridge, it's like 220, it has different road
226
numbers.
and 240.
And is 226 yours or someone else's?
It's mine,
All of it,
but it's Stockbridge
okay.
as opposed to what it is in Lennox, so it's kind of weird. So when I get a tax bill, I get it for 4 different addresses, but it's the same lot.
So the middle lot,
There are 2 lots.
We have
it
3.
looks like there's 3 on this.
What I think you're seeing there is the Thwaites house, who's our immediate neighbor.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's look at
Is that
this.
better?
So this is the 212, 218.
Yeah.
So what they just did is they took the backside 212 and attached it to 218. So that's this here.
Okay, but where's the barn?
The barn is right there.
So the barn goes all the way down to Lily
The
Pond.
barn goes all the way down.
Now,
They
it does- so
both-
this
right.
becomes the bigger lot. They used to be about each
So it was-
8 acres.
So like.
So this has been, it's called a pork chop lot, apparently.
I can see it.
So it went like this.
So you're right in that some of this plan
So it goes
was
like.
on,
This is the Thwaites property.
right, so some of this planting was on this property
Okay.
for the.
So Annie, your house is 218.
It's here,
My house is 212.
right here.
So Mark,
Barn is 218.
Mark,
Here.
the barn goes all the way down.
Yes,
Lot
And
lines were adjusted.
this is the pork chop lot?
no. We
No, it
just sort of
goes right
created-
here.
Here, out, down.
Oh, it's bigger than
So
that.
basically, it's almost making this house stand by itself.
Right,
And 218 becomes the much bigger lot.
I got it.
This is all this down in here. That's where it was proposed.
And that's asking.
That's where it proposed, where it was planned.
Included in this whole lot for one certificate of compliance for all of it.
So,
Is that what you're saying?
yes,
Yeah.
essentially.
I don't have a problem.
Lynch.
Jeff,
Yes.
has this been put before the planning board?
Yes.
And
And approved.
And approved, signed off, both towns have, planning boards have signed off on the lot, and it's been registered, the deeds have been registered.
Do you need a special permit for the driveway?
The special permit for the driveway I don't think that one is required, but I think we've talked about filing for that out of an abundance of caution, or just for clarity for the town. The
And
issue with that for the
which
rest of the
town?
board is that the driveway that will serve the new house, if you measure it from Old Stockbridge Road to the new house, will be 500 feet plus. And so town of Stockbridge has a 500 foot sort of limit without a special permit. The issue is that about 300 feet of that driveway is actually in Lenox.
It's complicated.
So we're going to be working with the town of Lenox regarding the barn because that has a dwelling unit above the storage barn space. So right now I have a pending application with the town of Lenox, and so that driveway will be part of that, and I'm going to sort of feel out how they are, but I think as this board knows, and all boards dealing with the length of the driveway, the issue really is EMS and safety. So we're going to be speaking with both fire chiefs. I believe Lenox is on first due to respond to anything on Old Stockbridge Road on this side of it anyways. And so certainly our first and second stops are to do fire chiefs to make sure that they're aware of the numbering and how these properties will be accessed. But there's already an existing drive.
Jeff, can I just interrupt you for a second? Ron, can you hear him?
I can.
Okay, good. All right. Sorry. I just want
I
to make
think
sure
also
he's.
on the town of Stockbridge, if memory serves right, Louis Payron put before the town meeting back, eons ago, that driveways were not to exceed 10% grade, so they get the fire.
This is below.
It didn't look like it when we were there.
Just 10 and it was 8 in one spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be part of this, the special permit for the driveway though.
And is it Stockbridge or Lenox? Because the first responder certainly is Lenox. Like, I remember with the whole Elm Court thing, Lenox is the one who gets there because it's a mile from the center of Lenox.
Lenox doesn't have a special permit requirement for a second serving driveway. So if we file, and the board, the zoning board here may just say it's not necessary, but at least your planning board, but at least we brought it forward so that discussion can be heard
Madam Chair,
in the roll plan.
or Madam Chair's not here.
No.
Ron?
Can I speak to the EO planting issue?
Ron, Elizabeth
Yes.
Goodman would like to
I
speak.
just have some questions, sorry. So Elizabeth Goodman, I represent Winden Hill Condominium, and they.
Come on, just so they can,
Yeah, we want to make sure he can hear you.
Hi, Ron. Elizabeth Goodman, I represent the Winden Hill condominium, and they are direct abutters to this property, and they had some concerns about the trees and verification that the 100 trees were in fact planted, because I don't know, I have this map that Mark kindly prepared. And these are Winden Hill condominiums, right abutting this property, and I'm told that the tree replanting is down here now. And I just wanted to confirm, and I don't have a copy of that map, which you seem to have, which showed where the trees were replanted, if I can get that some other
Got
time.
that last week.
So the question my clients have is, who went to verify that the trees were planted, and what happened at that visit?
We did, we had a site visit.
But we,
But in 2016, you guys went and saw that the 100 trees had been planted.
Right.
And I got an email, never closing it out, but saying, you've done it, all you need is to reseed.
Right.
And you're done. But I've never seen an official like, oh, you did what you're supposed to do, like.
that's the
never.
certificate of compliance.
That's part of
But
it.
it should have happened then.
So
in
they were originally
2016.
planted in 2016.
Yes.
Right.
And then you guys went and what's the replanting, the percentage
The replanting, they replanted the 29 trees that were not
that didn't survive?
That died.
survive, yeah. And the certification of that happens with the certificate of compliance.
Understood, but
Yeah.
2016, like technically, it would have been closed out.
Yeah,
It's
but-
only because of this new request that like, oh, this one never got closed out. So it feels like a paperwork issue more than, because you came again.
Right. We came to see how the project was going because it was an enforcement order. So, but in order to close it out, you have to have the certificate of compliance, which is what you're applying for now. And as part of that, we went out again last week to look at the trees. The trees are actually, most of them pretty good size. I know that it doesn't look the way it did before the cutting was done, but the trees that are there are thriving. They're tall. I took a picture of Ron next to one of the trees. It's
Excuse
quite
me.
tall.
me, you.
Sorry, it was John.
Just another handsome
Next
man
to
in
the
the
tree.
woods.
And you know, it's really quite a tall tree, and the ones that are healthy are doing great. The ones that are replanted seem to have deer, but that's going to be part of an ongoing requirement that those trees be healthy within 3 years.
So, thank you. If I could just ask one other question. On this map, it shows a wet area, and I was told that that was filled in. Is that still in?
It was not jurisdictional.
Yeah, but it was land underwater.
No,
No, it's not jurisdictional.
it is not jurisdictional.
So it just looks like a pond in this
It's
picture.
it is a water body of less than 10,000 square feet in Massachusetts.
It's not attached to
10,000
anything.
Square feet.
But under your local bylaw,
It's not attached to anything.
it just was a seep or, and
It's
two.
a puddle.
It was a puddle that got Mark, the former boyfriend, hate to say it, thought, oh, let's block this. I'm like, why? And it was like the size of this table.
Oh,
this
okay, so it
water
just
thing.
looks in the picture. Anyway,
And then
it's gone.
as
So
soon
it's
as I broke
not.
up with him, I was like, this is stupid. Let's just put it back the way it was. So it wasn't there.
Yeah,
before.
I'm just looking at this.
Understood,
So I'm
but
like,
it's
what's
not
this?
there
What's
now.
that? Okay. And so the trees are actually being planted in part of that? Or are they further down?
Further down.
Okay. they're not even- Okay.
There's some other trees growing as well, some tall, really tall trees.
Other questions, do you think? Okay, thank you very much.
So we'd still like to see maybe issue the order of conditions or the certificate of compliance for the old Scenic Mountain Act. And then you can put a condition in, as Jeff said, in the new one for keeping up those, the new ones that.
So you're suggesting that we issue the certificate of compliance fully
Yeah.
and then put the replanting in the notice, in the order of conditions from the notice of intent?
Right.
Or to keep them alive.
You can't really do it. If you close it out, there's no teeth in really a continuing condition.
Okay,
Unless you just pursue it and sit there and go back and go, all right, you're in violation.
right.
This would be a method of
And,
continuing it.
yeah, and I think it makes some sense because I know with the plantings that we're proposing with the new project, there'll be some viability that you'll be wanting to look at. So you'll be able to look globally at the property now of the viability of the plantings that have gone in.
Okay.
And the lot lines have changed.
I'd like to speak for a minute. So I'm not in a place yet for a certificate of compliance. I do have questions. And as I mentioned on the site visit, 29,688 square feet to me is massive in terms of loss of vegetation. And under scenic mountains, vegetation includes shrubs and grass. It's not just trees. So it's a very large amount of area that's being disturbed and going from vegetation to this structure. You did provide us with this map of what's going in. What I didn't see in your application was, and it's something that's required that we can ask for under scenic mountains, and that is the height of the house relative to the height of these trees. I mean, I see 2 canopy trees, 2 understory trees, and then dogwoods and hawthorn. So let me just finish. So by looking,
We haven't
I don't think we're there yet.
We're not there yet.
you're not there yet. So why do we have this?
Closing out.
We're trying to close out the first.
Oh, I thought you were joining both of them.
Sorry, no.
No, I was trying to understand what Jeff was proposing.
Okay.
That's what I made, hopefully I made that clear.
So, yeah, so the idea is, again, is to close out the existing open order of conditions with a certificate of compliance. Append to what we're applying for now, assuming that the board agrees with our application, a viability standard that will cover all of the plantings on the property, including what we've just put in, because you want to continue to go back and make sure that that orchard is sustainable. And I anticipate that with the new plantings that we put in, you'll also have a similar desire to see that those plantings are also viable for a period of time.
May I speak to that issue, Mr. Chair? Ron?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
listening.
My only concern with that is that it presupposes that you will in fact issue an order of conditions.
It does.
Yeah.
So you would have to reserve the vote on the certificate of compliance until after you
Yep.
vote on the order of conditions.
Thank you.
Because if you deny the order of conditions, then you're going to want to keep the certificate of compliance open to monitor the trees.
That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
I'm a little hesitant to do much with this until all the other certificates are approved. Planning board evidently has weighed in on this. Select board for driveway, whatever, has to weigh in. Who else is there?
Planning board,
Anyway.
has planning board seen it, Marie?
You gotta turn your thing
You're
on.
I
muted.
think that the only thing the planning board did was approve the Form A where they changed the lot lines.
Okay,
We heard nothing about driveway or replantings or anything else. It was simply reconfiguring their lot lines. That was the Form A.
So you haven't given them approval for this either, other than the
We haven't seen
the
this
lot.
permit. We haven't seen anything about this.
No, we haven't submitted for a special permit for the driveway yet, no.
And I think my understanding was that we couldn't even go before you with a new NOI without closing out the previous order of compliance. So that's why,
yeah, the DEP one really is quite adamant that a certificate of compliance be issued before a notice of intent but since the lots have changed, I'm not sure
This is DCR.
how that works.
Scenic Mountain Act.
Yeah, true.
So it's a little different.
Yeah.
But the process, that's why I was encouraging to get the certificate of compliance prior to that. I mean, I suppose we can go through the meeting on the Scenic Mountain Act on the application that we have right now. And then if you're deciding to go for it tonight and say, yeah, that doesn't sound like that, but we'll just go for that. you could issue a certificate of compliance prior to making an action on this action.
Yeah, it could, Ron, it could be a 1-2 if we want to, we could do it simultaneously could we not?
Yeah.
Elizabeth, you good with
I think
that?
you could finish the NOI process and then make a decision on the two together and not issue the NOI until you're satisfied that you're about to issue the NOI, and you can do the certificate of compliance and then the NOI. I'm not saying you shouldn't,
Right.
just think that you shouldn't presuppose by issuing the certificate, close it out and then say, oops, we are issuing the NOI with this continuing monitoring and decided not to issue the NOI.
I'm leaning towards certificate of compliance for the plantings. The rest of it, I'm gonna sit on till we get everybody else on board. I want to know all boards are in favor of this. I'm not gonna be the one that says, oh yeah, we're great with this when things change. Things could change before we see any activity there. And I wouldn't want that to happen on our compliance. So I think we're gonna order the
Continue?
continuation for the rest of it.
Can I make a request though, Ron? If it's what's being continued? The first,
I think they're both being continued because from what I figured, from what we've been talking about tonight, we would like to see and review the full notice of intent under the Scenic Mountain Act, which is now going to include the trees.
yeah,
And the viability of the trees and any other plantings that we might want to request to screen the house.
yeah. And
So that would all come under one umbrella.
Okay.
And then assuming that we like the way that goes, then we would issue the certificate of compliance at the same time and then approve the notice, the order of conditions as well at that time.
So what
One more question, I'm sorry, about the EO, the certificate of compliance, before you go and talk about the NOI. I just wonder if you had the project where the application for the certificate of compliance was stamped plans with a professional engineer, landscape architecture, someone certifying that the work was done in accordance with the EO? Because that's required in your.
for the first one?
So it says if there's a certificate of compliance where a project has been completed in accordance with plans, they should be stamped by a registered professional engineer, architect, landscape architect, or land surveyor, and a written statement by aforesaid professional people certifying compliance. And I'm just wondering if you have that.
So that would be Mark.
And Mark, has he filed that for this CO?
I issued a letter requesting the certificate of compliance.
Did you certify compliance with the plans in your letter?
I didn't create the plans.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm not gonna.
someone has to
all I
certify
said-
to your board, an independent professional should be certifying to your board that the work was done properly.
Okay, so Mark is the independent professional certifying plans that were done by another engineering firm.
I don't think it has to be the same person. It would be the landscape planting plan that he would certify it was done right and it's complied with.
So I went out and reviewed the planting. I gave you guys plans showing what needed to be replaced. We went out and reviewed it.
Yeah,
But I
so
think-
just certification of compliance. I looked at it, I comply. You know, they're in compliance.
He did.
But I just want to back up a little bit. So this goes back to 2016. We got the plan, we executed the plan. I have an email from Sally Edward Miller saying, you're good to go, fine. Didn't know Phil Heller died. He would have been the one who would have, I guess, I didn't even know what the paperwork sort of trail needed to be officially, but Sally's like, you're good to go. We did everything we were asked to do. And then I understand you guys came pre-COVID for a visit and there was no follow-up from that. There was no communication with me that there were trees dead, that there was anything to be done. So that must have been in 2019. Like, do you have a record of when you guys came out? I wasn't there, Jim was there.
Ron was there, Sally was there, I can't recall.
Right, so you guys.
So we were just checking, it was part of the process that we were checking on how it was going.
But so if you said it was okay, what
Yeah.
is the statute? Like, how long?
Well, so the statute, unfortunately, because the certificate of compliance is supposed to be applied for when the project is complete. It was not,
But you guys
applied
can
for.
tell me that. I mean, I guess you should
This
say,
is-
Annie,
this
you're
is-
good,
this is-
apply for those.
it's in the order of conditions that you need to apply for. And it's, I can't tell you how often it doesn't happen. It's in the order of conditions that it says that the certificate of compliance must be applied for when the project is completed. Unless, and I can't give you a blanket on this, but I would say generally speaking, unless the engineer of record is right on top of it, that doesn't necessarily happen.
So that
The
is not-
homeowners lose it, they misplace it, they don't read the order of conditions, they don't understand. It's not up to us to chase you for it, it's up to you to do it.
It's not really the engineer's responsibility.
No, it's not. It's not, but oftentimes the engineers will take it upon themselves
Yeah.
to advise their clients that they need to apply for the certificate of compliance. We get applications for certificates of compliance that are 25, 30 years old. And it's very complicated at that point because so much has gone on between the time that the project was done and the time that the certificate of compliance has been requested, that you, in some cases, you really cannot tell whether the work was done according to the plan. And we just have to sign off on it. So
But
that's.
you know the work was done according to the plan. I have an email from you saying,
Right.
good, you're good to go.
But
I would
you,
have appreciated a little, like, now you should apply for a certificate of compliance, because this
That's-
is 5 years ago. Phil Heller dies.
yeah, but that's not the way it goes, Annie. As much as I'm sure you would like it to go that way, it's not the way it goes.
So it's open forever.
I think
Previously, you said there's a 3-year something. I'm just
It's
curious.
in the order of conditions. Okay, so the order of
And I never
conditions.
received that. So is there a piece of paper, a document that
It's-
somebody at this committee sends to me?
It's in the registry. It's still.
Yeah.
an
It's never
attachment.
sent to me.
It's still an attachment to the deed, so. if
Whoever-
Somebody who's not selling, it could sit in there forever because they don't know anything.
Whoever-
Registry of deeds.
So you guys don't send
We
a
don't.
copy, nothing? You just have to go to the registry of deeds and look at?
No, you go, or your representative goes to the registry of deeds and registers the order of conditions.
I think what we don't want to lose for some of the board members here who weren't at the site visit and the neighbors is that we're 6 years later.
Right,
We're doing this.
Yes.
The board and the homeowners see, hey, some of these trees that are now 5 or 6 years old have succumbed to elements, animals, whatever. And from the meeting that we had 2 weeks ago to the meeting tonight, we've got 29 trees planted,
right.
replaced their accepting of a viability, standard that was suggested and agreed upon. So I think that's one. I think that shows that at where we are right now is a compliance and even some additional work being done to make sure that the spirit of what was agreed upon years ago is met.
Right.
We're now looking to obviously add to this property, and I respectfully, I understand Ron's comment or question about the planning board, but there's really no answer. We need a building permit and we need permission from this board under Scenic Mountain Act to build. We've not been told affirmatively by the building inspector that some special permit is needed for that driveway. It's a real questionable issue. So aside from the driveway issue, there's nothing else that this board would consider in accepting what we have in front of the board tonight for the new house.
Can I speak
Yeah, of
now
course.
about this? But given, in response to that, given what I see on here and in looking at, I think it's 5.3, T in Scenic Mountains Act, it says we can ask for the tree canopy relative to the height of proposed structures.
That's a different issue. I think what the chairman was asking is for this all to be tabled
Yep.
and not further this discussion anymore until we get some additional permitting. That I don't think that there's any answer that anything more is needed. If we then get that conversation, then obviously your commentary is there. But I think where we are right now is we're facing a hard pause, and I'm trying to advocate not to pause and going forward with this notice of intent to build, to construct a house.
If I could speak to that at some point.
And I guess there's another question for Ron. I know there's a lot of people on Zoom. I don't know if there's going to be time for any of those people to speak also.
Yeah, I see. Two.
Who would like to speak?
I would like to speak.
Elizabeth would like to speak.
Just to reiterate your point, Mr. Chairman, the Scenic Mountain Act Regulation 4.21 says that there is a requirement under the act to obtain or apply for all obtainable permits. And I believe I've heard tonight that they intend to apply for a special permit for the driveway. And this board is well within its rights to wait for that decision and or permit. You don't wait for the building permit, it's clear. You wait for this other permit. And if this applicant says we're not applying for any other permits, fine. But they've said tonight they are applying for another permit from the town, and this act comes last. Your decision comes after that.
No, not necessarily, no. But we need to put the application in. But they don't have to wait for that permit to be issued, though.
Well, I disagree.
Can I?
Wait, Ron's trying to speak.
All right, let's have some more additional comment on this. So many people here, I'd like to have everybody speak if they wish. Then we'll make a ruling. But this many people are interested, must be someone has something to say. No?
So can I give
Yeah, we also have the stormwater.
plans? So the plans were updated basically from when we went to the last site visit. Initially, the landscaping plans weren't totally complete. So landscaping plans have been completed, and these plans, I've got a bunch of copies. I don't know if I can have enough for each one, but these would be showing what it is. Now, hopefully this is getting to your point of what is proposed. So if something was going to happen at this meeting, these plans, what I would be proposing would be approved.
Mark, what's exactly changed on those plans?
The building is the same, driveway is the same, grading is basically the same. It's just showing the vegetation that is proposed. So the planting plan. There's several large trees proposed, canopy trees, and then there's understory trees, and then there's shrubs that are shown.
So do we have the height of the house and the height of these when they go in?
That is relatively true to what the plan would be. The house is about 18 feet tall. At the tallest is 22 feet. So the new trees, what I was told by the landscaper is that the new shade trees that are the larger trees, approximately that height.
And what's the height that they're planting? How big are they?
She was talking about 2 to 3 inch caliper trees. That's a really big tree. That's going to be a 20-foot tree.
Mark, do you have an elevation house? I mean,
there could be a age of it.
Well, we've got this, but we don't. Okay.
And what is,
Also in the
Application.
yeah,
and what is the square footage of the house?
6,000. It's all
6,028.
one floor.
So where-
6,800.
The 29,000 is a pool and a driveway? That's
A monument to what?
The 29,000 is the total area that will be disturbed by the project. There's 0.7 acres.
A lot.
quite an acre.
A lot.
It's, the level for Phoenix Mountain Act is 0.5 acres, 0.7.
The level for scenic mountains, I thought was a quarter acre.
It's a half acre.
It's a quarter acre.
1/4.
It's a quarter. So this is like 3 times that.
Well, that's why we're submitting a Phoenix Mountain Act.
Okay, but,
So this is the.
and what blocks the driveway? So you're down the hill and you're looking up. What prevents, I mean, scenic mountains means you're looking up and you're seeing something beautiful. Yeah, hopefully. So what's blocking this long driveway?
There's no requirements for us to really block anything. It's, if it's acceptable to the Conservation Commission, so the only view that anybody's gonna have from this
Do you know the elevation?
is from Lily Pond. There's 3 houses down there and DeSisto. There's no other houses that are in view of this site below from the west. So you're really not gonna see, this is gonna be a very small speck on the hillside.
So if I understand it, you're suggesting that we have the power to waive the law, the scenic,
It's not waiving the law.
well, if it's only a quarter of acre and you're proposing 0.7 acre, then we'd have to waive the law, wouldn't we?
It's not waiving the law. We're in front of you saying,
We can say
Ignore
yes.
well, that's a threshold. Over that threshold, we have to come to you for an application.
We can say yes or no over that.
I think you can impose conditions that you see that mitigate after we tell you what the drainage plan is, because again, where we are on this property is we are well below the base elevation. So the base elevation for the Housatonic River Valley is 1,500 feet. This property and all the developed area is 1,200 square feet or below. Winden Hill is above it, the existing house in Lennox is above where we're proposing this to be built, and it's well below the 1,500.
But it's still in scenic mountains.
It's scenic mountain because of the slope, which is greater than 20%. But the reason that the slope is always an issue on Scenic Mountain Act is because we're concerned with runoff. And whether the runoff that's caused by the disturbance is mitigated enough, or if it's going to damage any areas downstream, such as Lily Pond. And so what we have here is a bunch of mitigation measures through a complicated and well thought out drainage plan through Foresight Plans to be approved to make sure that because we're building on a 20% slope approximately, that any of the runoff concerns are addressed. So it's less of a scenic issue because we're well below, we're 300 feet below what is usually considered the Scenic Mountain Act and the concern of breaking up vistas. If you went down and I drove to Wheatley Drive today, as you look through the trees, you can see Winden Hill, you cannot see this property. Where you can see this property is actually if you're in a canoe in Lily Pond or on one of the other 2 properties that are immediately abutting Lily Pond who have stripped the land of all the trees to give themselves a view. So now for those properties, and I think for the board to be sort of concerned with, have we disturbed their vista of the mountain?
Yeah, but that's
But it's not,
that's not,
it's done.
yeah, it's not how we decide.
I understand.
But you're not enforcing that.
I was not here for any of that. Don't-
But they clear cut it, it's not enforced.
But we're not
We're
judging,
not
yeah.
comparing.
We're not retroactively judging your neighbors.
Right, but what I'm,
And they didn't cut all the trees from the mountain without permission, which I believe you did.
I would like to
believe you.
clarify that. We went to the town of Stockbridge, the town of Lennox, and the Ministry of Forestry in Massachusetts. Nobody mentioned the Scenic Mountains Act, period. They didn't. We got permission from all the towns. And it was,
It's unfortunate that they wouldn't know
we
it.
did what we were supposed to do. And nobody, when I bought that house, said, oh, by the way, you're in the Scenic Mountains Act. No,
It wasn't on your deed?
nope.
and part of the issue with that is the town of Stockbridge, in my research and the research that I've had, the assistance of the Registrar of Deeds in Pittsfield, there is no recording of the Scenic Mountains Act for the town of Stockbridge as required as a in order, if you read the state law for the scenic mountain acts to apply in the town, it has to be approved by the commissioner and recorded in the registry of deeds. It has never been recorded in the registry of deeds.
So,
And so nevertheless, we're here, but as an explanation, because I understand the sort of the point of, hey, we did it and we had no idea. And I think Ms. Selke is being completely showing what the hazard is when something is not placed on the registry records. And you take steps and then everybody in good faith moves in the right direction.
so when you had your, and I'm new to Stockbridge, so I'm asking this as a genuine question. When you had the enforcement order, that didn't get attached to your deed?
No, and what happened, here's the history of it. We had a lot of, 80% dying ash trees. Emerald ash borer, and you've seen it, there's all this, it's dead at the top. They're all dying, fine. It's an eyesore and ugly, but, so it's okay, we should cut these down. They're dying anyways. We go to Stockbridge, we go to Lennox. We go to the Ministry of Forestry. We did Minister of Forestry, we did all that.
Yeah, nobody told.
No one ever said, oh, by the way. And then when we started taking the trees down, after we thought we had done everything that we were supposed to do, I get an email from Sally Underwood Miller, I'm in India at the time, and she said, cease and desist, and unfortunately, you can't unring the bell. Once it's cut, you can't put it back. And that's really the situation. So it was not this nefarious, oh, I'm so sneaky and cutting down all these trees at all. It was, we went to Stockbridge, we went to Lennox, we went to the Minister of Forestry, and no one ever said I'm in the Scenic Mountains Act, ever.
There was some significant confusion on the part of the folks at that time. George Shippey was the chair, and when Annie called to ask him what she should do, he said, oh, that's in Lennox. And my understanding is Lennox said that's in Stockbridge. So,
But we went to both
Right,
and they
no,
said it's
yeah.
okay. So it wasn't like Annie with her chainsaw, hell yeah. And I think when I read some of the email correspondence about it, it's assuming that I was just flouting. I grew up in Stockbridge. I am deeply sensitive to all of the wonderful things it stands for. So it wasn't just chainsaw Annie at all. It just wasn't that. And
That's good to
portrayed
know.
that way.
Thank you. That's good to know.
And just to reinforce what Jeff said, I want to make this very clear. If you haven't filed the map, you may not even have jurisdiction over this. Now, we're not here making some legal argument, but I think it behooves you on a go-forward basis to get that map filed so that when someone buys a property, they know.
been in effect since 1990
It's not filed.
something. I can't believe it's not filed. I mean, it had to go through the state to be approved,
Right.
the whole
And the
scenic
town
mountain thing.
council, wouldn't have had to go through town council?
Yeah.
It's something, as I was new to doing Scenic Mountain Act in Stockbridge, so I looked, and that's what
Well, that's something our town,
that I searched for, and then I double checked my own research, because I don't always trust myself, to get to double check from the registrar itself. And so that's what I've discovered. But I think the only point that I was trying to make where this was a
Maybe
jump off
people make a decision.
was that what we're looking to do, and I think the purpose of the Scenic Mountain Act, when you're dealing with a slope concern as opposed to a height, the ridge line, we're not building on the ridge line at a jurisdictional level. We're below that. And so now I think the emphasis, not complete ignorance of any scenic qualities, but I think the emphasis should be focused on runoff mitigation, protection of downstream, more so than a view that is limited to.
But there's nothing in here that says if there's only two properties that can see it, it doesn't count. I think the view is important.
I'm trying to be clear, I think the emphasis should be in keeping with what Scenic Mountain Act is trying to achieve.
Unfortunately, it sounds like we might need more information and we might just need to table this until it's all resolved.
I mean,
Or also, was there an engineer's report done on the stormwater mitigation?
That's what this is.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
But it's a real engineer's report.
Yes.
He's a real engineer.
got that.
So once you're You said the next meeting is July, you have.
The 28th.
June?
The 28th of June or the
28th
12th of
June.
July.
Okay.
So my comment with July is if she can get
Okay.
is for the advertising, if she has to have it in by Thursday.
Sally, I have an important question, though. All of this information, the engineers, the runoff report, all the rest of it, these maps, do you have electronic copies?
Yes, I sent it to you.
I haven't gotten it.
Yeah, I sent it this evening.
Oh, this evening, okay.
Okay.
I was here. Yeah.
So the Scenic Mountain Act went into effect as of May 29th, 1996, which was pre-me. The only person who still sits on this board who was sitting at that time was Joe DeGeorgis, and unfortunately, he's not here. But it was, it has its own numbers, it has its own sections, it has its own everything, that it went through the state, became a general law.
I think Stockbridge was the first town to adopt it.
Stockbridge was the first town.
1988 on your regs.
Yeah, this is the final version was 1996. And then the local vote of acceptance was 1988. You're correct in that. If it was never filed as a deed thing, I have no knowledge of that. And it's surprising.
Surprising because your regulations say that it was, so.
Really surprising.
Jamie? Jamie?
Yes, Ron.
Good check, but maybe you guys should check, right?
No, we should check.
Could you have our legal look
We
into
can
this?
have counsel
Yes.
look into that.
May I speak to, well, let him.
This is just from the register.
I would like to comment on the purpose of the regs and the overall review of the commission before we got into details, but Ron, I don't know when you want me to talk about that.
Did you hear that?
Who is this?
This is Attorney
Elizabeth.
Hi.
Okay.
To speak to Jeff's point about what is the scope of review of your commission. And I thought before you get into the details of the stormwater drainage, for example.
I think he said okay.
He said, okay?
That's
I'm
fine,
sorry.
yes.
So also, yes, not often that we attorneys even review Scenic Mountain Act applications. There are very few, really. But it's clear, I'm just looking at section 6.6. It says, in considering the application, you're supposed to make presumptions regarding damage to the watershed and scenic resources. So to me, that's the issues that you're considering, and that's where you get the concern with protuberance above ridge lines is presumed to damage natural scenic qualities.
So we're not about the rich.
I'm not done, sorry. The issue to me, and I have a photograph, which I think Sally, one of the Wyndham Hill people sent you a few photographs. And yes, it's the view of the hillside from Lily Pond, and you can see the Wyndham Hill condominiums, but you also see the woods, which is going to be another house visible from Lily Pond. I'm not saying that means they shouldn't build there. I'm saying that that's what the purview of your commission, to me, is. It's not who can see it, who of the neighbors will see it. It's something beautiful like Lily Pond and your obligation to preserve that natural vista. So to the extent that you can minimize it, and I was thinking about this, and it's really a balancing act, right? Because if you want to minimize the height of a structure, you have a structure that's all one story, but it's going to take up a lot of grading work. And the next criteria is clearing of contiguous lands totaling 1/4 acre is considered presumed to cause damage under this act.
Over that, yes.
So if you have all this grading of, I am assuming this 20% slope, which is why they're here, and they're grading it to put in this more extended single-family house because they can't protrude up, you're gonna have a balancing between, well, what would it look like if it were 2 stories but back, or I don't, that's not my thing. I'm just telling you what your criteria are. It's all in 6.6.
Yeah.
Protuberance above the ridge line, clearing of contiguous lands totaling a quarter acre and work on slopes over 15%. That's what you're concerned about. So the drainage and water runoff, that is your concern too, but you definitely are concerned with the vista.
Yes.
And you can look at those pictures. It was striking to me of the view from Lily Pond. You're going to see it. So it's just part of that's why Mark is proactively saying, I have a vegetation plan. These are the trees we're going to plant to preserve that sort of vegetative buffer is what you're going to have to ascertain.
And as part of that, if I can just add on, adds to my point of there's also the driveway, which I don't see blocked at all by any of
So I
them.
think
But
typically.
I'm just gonna say something, because she's representing Winden Hill,
Yeah.
which is hideous from down below. It's just awful. It's different colors, it's different shapes, it's not architecturally distinguished at all. And clearly, it was probably because of what Winden Hill built that the Scenic Mountains Act goes into effect, because that is an eyesore. I mean, it really is. So it's hideous from that angle. So
But we
I feel
can,
like it's the pot calling the kettle black.
we can only comment on what's brought.
Understood, but as the person who's trying to come to you with a very reasonable, beautiful, sensitively conceived
But
plan,
Winden Hill is in Lennox and it was pre this, so we,
that's what I'm saying, but
yeah,
it's,
so we had no input on that.
But Chainsaw, the spirit of the scenic mountain is what we're really talking about.
I understand.
And yes,
But for them to be the main complainer.
I think that doesn't enter the picture here. It really doesn't.
Which I feel like it should, like to put it
Well,
in
it should, but it
context.
doesn't.
They're 46 feet higher than what this house is.
Understood, but
Yep, I'm just saying, it doesn't make sense.
if I were to go up to the top of Rattlesnake Mountain, for instance, and actually the other end of Rattlesnake Mountain, this is sort of happening. And I were just to cut a notch in the top of the mountain so that if you were sailing on Stockbridge Bowl and you looked at the ridge line of Rattlesnake Mountain, it went
Got copies of
like that would be serious violation of scenic mountain law. I mean,
I'm thinking,
that's what we're trying to preserve, is the spirit of the Scenic Mountain Act, so those things don't happen.
And we come to you.
I understand that. We need to dot the i's and cross the t's.
But I think we still go back to, we need more information.
Well, you're continuing it. It sounds like with Ron anyways, you're continuing it to your next meeting anyways. So
Yeah, I think that's pretty.
I just wanted to flush out what is the concerns. If you have concerns, we can address them before the next meeting.
Right.
may I make a suggestion? Ron, may I make a suggestion? We have three new people on board, Bill and myself and Chuck. I was on the board 2 years ago for a while, but then I've been away. And none of us have taken in the site visits, and we will be present at the next meeting. So I didn't know if we could arrange another site visit if Bill and Chuck are interested. So that we can better understand this, because obviously it's very complicated.
It is complicated. It's especially complicated because you have these properties along Old Stockbridge Road that are both in Lennox and in Stockbridge. So it's hard to know. It's hard to know where you're at, I guess, a lot of the time. Where does I know now where your line is in Stockbridge and where it was in Lennox, but when you took over your mother's house, I'm sure you just took over your mother's house and.
No, it was bought, like I bought it from the estate.
Right. No, I get that,
All
but-
this is in there. I told you the last time.
Right.
Like, why don't you guys put a red thing in your tax bill that says, just by the way, you are in the Scenic Mountains Act.
You're absolutely right.
And it's
You're
not
absolutely right.
noticed anywhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's being held against me because nobody could be.
And to compound it, foresters don't
don't care.
attention to it.
I think
So you hire somebody to cut,
I
I
did what I
understand.
Open
was
to that.
supposed to do.
If we can
And this is
sort
a
of coordinate.
yawning thing
Sure, I'll
5
do it.
years hence, like,
Yeah.
huh?
But understand that that it, I know that it's frustrating that people don't tell you what things are, but it is the homeowner's responsibility to follow up with the various things. Now, you say that you have not received, that you did not receive the order of conditions, but it's been recorded, so it was received by somebody, official.
Like Ted, Phil.
As possible.
Chairman, again, if I could just respond, if that's okay, quickly. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to say my client's request is that they're not complaining about your project. They got the letter noticing the abutting as abutters, and they were confused about what the project was and what was happening, and they wanted to come tonight to get information, and they appreciate your explaining what happened with the trees that need to be planted and what will happen in the future with this housing application. They don't want you to think that it was just a complaint or an objection. They really didn't have the information. That's all there.
I believe it got sent. Didn't you?
Yeah, no, that's how they got the notice letter saying
But we
this will
also
be.
sent,
But you also sent
you
documents.
information,
That's
copy.
afterwards.
Yeah.
When it started, we received a letter saying, dear abutter, no date on it, no signature, and saying there was a notice of intent.
Just saying.
There was no information, and that's why I started calling around to find out what does this mean? I didn't know.
And that comes from you guys, right?
No,
No, it's all part of the regulations in the process. When the engineer applies for a notice of intent, they are required to notify the abutters that the project is being proposed. And they don't, when they do that, they do not necessarily have the date as to when the hearing is going to be. So they can't necessarily give you that information because they don't have it. But it is subsequently published in the Berkshire Eagle that the project will be heard and when it will be heard. The agendas are posted in both online and in the town hall, so that when the project is heard, you can see that. You could always call in and say, or look up online to see when the agenda is going to be posted. It's an imperfect.
I had no idea what.
It's a really imperfect process under the best of circumstances. And, Annie managed to get herself stuck in the middle of it on a couple of different occasions, not the least of which is, being in Lenox and Stockbridge at the same time.
I started this last year. I spoke to Ned Baldwin and I said, what do I need to do? Because I don't want to pay an architect, do all of this if it's going to be an issue. Like, why would I waste all that money, right? If I can't do it, just tell me if I can't do it.
It's rare that you can't do what you want to do. Sometimes it has to get revised a little bit, but most of the time it's
Are we talking
fine.
a year? Like, how long? I mean, I've already been working on it for a year.
Yeah,
So,
but we've just started to see it now,
so what I'm saying, I wish somebody would have said, go earlier to them, because it's
But who would say that?
Ned Baldwin, I would hope, right? Or somebody saying, here's what you need to do. So it's all been just kind of.
Well, Sarah Jane Manukin came in here and somebody told her that she should get some advice. She was just there.
Yeah, so you have 3 members that are requesting a site visit.
Yes.
Could we maybe get a date for that?
Sure. We want to have a second site visit?
Third.
Ron?
I won't be back for 10 days.
Well, you've already been.
You've been.
Yeah, I've already been, but I would go with these gentlemen if they needed
I'll go.
questions answered. John, will you go? All right, so between the 4 of you, set a date. Hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Speak louder.
Don't tell them that.
Okay, so when do you
Hey,
guys
yell
want?
half hour.
When we typically go 3:30 on Thursday, but that does not have to, that's not written in stone. It's just, it seems to work out for people's schedules. But if between the 3 of you and
Any afternoon next week is fine for me.
I'm sorry?
20.
Any afternoon.
Tom?
I'm sure I could do an afternoon next week. I don't think I have anything.
23rd works for me.
Does it work for you guys?
Sure.
Jim?
What's the date?
Good?
Do we have to-
23rd.
do you need us to be there?
No,
Right.
I just didn't know if you wanted to be.
Okay, so it's going to be June 23rd,
What time, guys?
3:30?
3:30.
3:30, 23rd.
We don't want Tom on
Yeah,
that hill.
it is.
It's a steep hill, Tom.
You don't have to go
You
down.
can stand on top of the hill and look. I mean, you
No,
can see where the,
I think I was there a long time ago.
I think you were too.
I think Ron went, and I went there years, when he discovered that a lot of the trees had died.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're there together.
I think it
So-
was a good sale over there.
Yeah, I remember you were there,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a couple comments on this whole process so far. The Winden Hill people that are now inquiring about the plantings and stuff, were those people still in those condos when this tree cutting started? Are you current enough to have seen the start of this
Yes, not
clear
yet.
cut?
2016.
2016, did you live where you live now? In the condo?
We were there, but we were not living there full time.
Oh, they weren't there full time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so
They're-
that,
Now they are full time there.
all right. So that, I find that a little unsettling that all of a sudden they got a view and now they're worried about losing a view. And that view,
No,
from that position, you can see Saranac above Tanglewood. So I know you can see this property from Olivia's Overlook up on top of Richmond Mountain. There's no structures there that you're gonna see from that property to that location. So just because there's no structure there does not mean you don't have a view of that location.
yeah.
Those are my two comments.
From Winden Hill, you just won't see it. It's like set way down. And my intent was so you couldn't see it from the main house. So it's set down. So the thing your eye is gonna go to is the house that exists. This is like visually below that.
I mean, I think our application is,
Andy, can you see,
is strong.
Yes. I can see Propalo and DeSisto and the people who,
in Saranac?
I can't see Sarah.
It's.
On the- As you look at the lake, it's on the right.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like a motion to continue this.
I'll second it.
Any opposition to that?
Nope.
No,
We have a vote to continue.
yes,
All
Yes.
in favor?
aye.
what's your date? You gotta get a date certain.
And so there's really no like steps. I thought like came, we plant the trees, we do this, we close out that over
No, we
compliance.
didn't hear the dates.
You have to.
We need the, we need the date.
628,
23rd.
6:23, 3:30.
No, that's the site visit.
28.
Right.
28.
Continue it for,
Oh, to the 28th.
Next meeting is
Yes.
28th.
so more next.
So everything gets held up for the site visit, but is there anything prescriptive that would be helpful?
I would want, I mean, I have rough heights. I want to know the heights of the trees,
Okay.
what's really going to be blocked, and the driveway. How are we, what are you doing so that we don't see the driveway? Those are two important things for me. And, you know, as I said on the site visit, I think it's too much disturbance there. So if you want to fiddle with the numbers, that would make me happier. I think it's a big project for that site.
Thank you for the,
Yes.
for your,
Okay,
And plus, we need to talk about the stormwater.
yeah, no, I'll address that too.
Thank you.
Keep your chainsaw in the barn.
It's kind of not funny anymore because
I got this next meeting, so.
all right, thank you. Moving on.
Stormwater bylaw.
So we'll talk this time. Thank you, done.
Are we doing that next time?
Are we doing it now or next?
We have Christine Niblock, 10 Maple Lane for the dock installation.
Be here.
What's up next?
No, but Mark is.
So we did a.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
And you guys were looking for plantings, and I submitted plans at the site visit. Here's supplemental plans. So you could,
Oh, yeah, okay. The little house, the original house on the pole, not Prairie.
right,
Where is this?
this is the 10 Maple Lane, next to Shippey.
Tiny little house.
And this is just,
Michigan.
This was just, we just submitted for the dock, and there was a request that there be plantings done. So we did a plan that showed plantings, so we have plantings proposed. You guys can share one down there.
Oh,
1, 2, 3. There you go. So there's plantings in proposed at our site visit. It seemed like the plantings did what you were requesting of having some, so there's 52 feet of no plantings right there now. So it's grass. So we're doing about half of it, a little over half of it to be planted. Let me go kick my ass.
Yeah, can you shut the door?
we just tell them to go outside.
Turn the light off, they'll go away.
Close the door. So anyways, we're looking just, it's really just for a dock application, but
Sure,
they've approved that the plantings could be done. So we're just looking for a request for determination, a negative determination that the dock can be installed.
So the dock, I can't remember, is it going to be attached to the bottom or is it?
It's just sitting at the bottom. It's taken, removing every
In the fall.
so it's just on feet.
Looks good.
Don, who went with us? Who was there besides me?
I was there.
Sally?
Yeah.
I was there.
All right.
We
That's
took
right, you showed up.
pictures of the first
Cottage.
on Beechwood.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You didn't ask me.
What year was it built?
Little plaque.
1937.
Wow.
And it's in good shape. Very
Nice.
good shape.
All right, I'm okay with this project.
Yeah,
I'm okay with
too.
this project.
I'm okay.
Make a motion to close the hearing.
I'll second that motion. Oh, I'll make that motion.
Why don't you make the motion?
Second it.
Let's
All in
face it.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Go away, Mark.
I will.
Good night, Mark.
At least you end on a positive.
Oh, can I just bring up one thing?
No.
Come on.
No.
30.
19, this might have been what you were talking about before of somebody asking for removal of a dead tree. There's at 19 Lakeview. There's an existing order conditions for 19 and 21. 19 is Mintz.
Yeah, it's not that.
They're building, well, she's put in a request to you, I think, Concom email wise.
Yeah.
They have a large dead white pine that wasn't listed to be cut, and it's dead. It's below the house, and they'd like to do it before they do their planting.
Is it in the bank?
No, it's up on the slope. It's just below the house, but it's quite dead.
dead.
She said, I think she sent pictures, Sally, but she's been trying to get through. So I said I'd bring it up. There is an existing order conditions on the property, but it's a dead tree. It's a big white pine.
Is there room for replanting there?
We have an extensive replanting plan already in place. You'd like us to plant one more tree?
Yeah, the same size as that one.
Same size.
Yeah, just add, if you can just add in another.
60-foot dead tree.
Ever fill in the hole?
With a tree?
Add another tree.
Okay.
That should be fine.
Are they gonna tear up the stump? Or are they just gonna cut it?
Yeah, let's leave the stump in.
How about we grind stump?
There you go.
We grind it and it's,
Works for me.
okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Good.
Good night.
Good night.
38.
Lake Drive.
Which one?
38.
Okay, 38 Lake Drive, we got an email from Brent saying, asking to continue. So we'll continue to the next meeting on that.
Make a motion to continue that,
I'll make a motion to continue.
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we'll
Continue.
continue to the next meeting.
Didn't we do this one already?
All right, we already did the Beaver Dam at Campusa Bog.
Yep. And I guess we don't need to do this last one because we're all done.
No, we can't do that anyways.
We're all done.
Wait a minute.
We have new members.
I know. That's not, I need to address the performance standards here.
We have the performance standards.
Where?
Approved? Do we have the one coming back from town council?
Approved?
Not by
No,
us.
we haven't approved it, but we got the one from town council.
When I sent them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here's my point, if I could. And that is this whole thing with Annie Selke and the whole thing with the Scenic Mountain Act, and I didn't know it was in the Scenic Mountain Act and all this other stuff. Part of my interpretation of the performance standards is that when an applicant, before they become an applicant, for that matter, before they become a homeowner, they have a document that they can go to see what kind of heat their feet are going to get put to before they buy 84 Hawthorne Road, not after. And is that the intent of the performance standards? Or is the intent of the performance standards just to have a document that we throw across the table to somebody after they become an applicant?
I think the intent of the performance standards is something, it's referred to in our town bylaw, that the Conservation Commission can write their own performance standards. So it gives us something to reference when we try to regulate, especially buffer zones. That's.
I understand that. What I'm concerned about is there was a letter written to, I don't know, Stockbridge Updates or something, by somebody moaning and groaning about the fact that 84 Interlaken was going to be 9.9% of the building lot. And that, we should kind of overlook that, and that, we should just, because it's going to take it property off the tax records and so forth and so on. I would like to see a document, maybe a pricey version of the performance standards that is available to realtors before they sell a piece of property on the banks of Stockbridge Bowl or Housatonic River or something, so that they'd have some idea what they're going up against.
I understand, but I think they should be familiar with the Wetlands Protection Act.
That and some of that is planning board.
Yep.
Correct. However, I think a lot of it is realtors.
And foresters.
But you have people who are being paid to do a job. They get well paid when they sell a house. And it is there, just the way Elizabeth did her research and Jeff did his research on behalf of his clients, their clients, that it is up to the realtors to say, now, Annie's kind of between a rock and a hard place here, because this was not exactly an inherited property, but it was her mother's house.
Right.
And so when it came to her, I would not personally have gone and looked to see if I had property in Scenic Mountains. I would have been equally as unknowing as she was, I think.
It is why you have a lawyer when you.
It is why you have a lawyer.
The lawyer should be telling people that. I don't think it's up to us to.
The lawyer should have caught it.
Lawyer should be telling people, this is Wetland, this is Scenic Mountains.
Lisa, I understand that. What I'm thinking, being somebody who is a marketer and in the business of distribution of brochures, that somewhere in this town hall, whether it's in Ned Baldwin's office or wherever it is, there ought to be a brief document that says, you know, if you're going to buy a piece of property in a buffer zone, this is what you're going to have to come up against, because otherwise it becomes a pain in our butt.
But it is there. They have access both to the Wetlands Protection Act and they have the town bylaws, both the wetlands bylaw and the scenic mountain bylaw. They are both there on the town website.
I understand that. It just doesn't happen.
No,
And then
it
the
doesn't.
next thing that happens is that they're in here before us and they think we're accosting them. And I just like to avoid the hassles that we put people through and that people put us through, frankly.
Well, you know, I think it was in 2017, Ron and I think Sally too, we went to the planning board and we talked about putting together just such a document. Ned Baldwin already has a sheet of what you have to do for the building inspector, and that's a full page that involves tri-town health and all this stuff like this. And somewhere at home in my documents, I have a multi-page document that basically goes over everything a homeowner will face for permitting and whatever, if they're going to do anything. Ned always says that they have to get a jurisdictional if they're ever going to dig into the ground. He said anytime you
We have given Ned
but he already has
Let's
a
throw Ned under the
paperwork
bus.
to go with, well, it's the only way that it gets done because the first thing is the building permit. So when it comes to jurisdictional, we have a sheet or had a sheet that was to go with the jurisdictional to give the homeowner some idea of what they needed to do. And
But we should revive.
it gets.
There should be like a booklet at the building inspector, at the town clerk, whatever, you know, so that it's easily available to people, because we've had lots of people, when I was on, come in here and they're just completely at sea what they're supposed to do. I know I lived in this town for 6 years before I knew there was a conservation commission, you know.
And you live on the river.
Down the street who clear cut the Housatonic Bank. Nothing was ever done about it, but he had no idea. And then I had another neighbor who did know that he wasn't supposed to clear cut it. He clear cut it and nothing was ever done about that either. But this is what happens. People don't even know that they're breaking the law. And
Is Stockbridge more stringent than other towns?
So I actually want to segue into something that I had asked to be on the agenda, but it might have been too late. For new members, we're talking about educating the public, but I'm interested in making sure our new members are really educated. So I don't know if Sally gave you connections for Mass Conservation Commission.
There's the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners. It's MACC, and it's MacWeb is their website.
Yep.
And they have,
Confusing. And they have training sessions that you can attend now, I think virtually. You don't have to necessarily go to they have their two, I don't know if they've had the fall one, but they have traditionally the first weekend in March, they have the MAC conference. And 800, 900 commissioners from across Massachusetts, commissioners and engineers and anybody who's interested, go to this thing.
Where is it usually?
It's usually at Holy Cross.
now it's almost all online. And they also have what they call fundamentals for commissioners.
Yeah.
It's a series of 8 different classes and you get a certificate. But you really learn the Wetlands Protection Act.
Thank you.
Is what it's not specific.
It's definitely worth doing. And the MAC conference, when they hold it at Holy Cross, is really wonderful. You have this booklet of maybe, I don't know how many, maybe 16, I'm just throwing that out, 16 different workshops that you could go to. And they have 4 sessions during the course of the day. They have the 9 o'clock session and then the 11 o'clock session and then the 2 afternoon section. And you can pick one of the topics that they're presenting and go and listen to it and be a part of it, assuming that you can get in. Sometimes they're closed.
Not all of those count towards certification.
No, those do not count toward, well, they count toward your advanced certification.
Yeah.
But they also have the fundamentals for conservation commissioners, which is six different seminars. Good, thank you, John. 6 different seminars that address different things. There's, wetlands, there's how you're supposed to do your job, and different aspects of being a conservation
Do I
commissioner.
need login credentials or I just log in and sign up?
You should be, if you're signed up with the town.
Yep.
You should.
If there's any fee involved, you can, the town will pay for it. So you can, we have in our budget, we have education money.
Oh, I've been paying myself.
Oh, no, you can get reimbursed for it. So you should give your reimbursement request to Cheryl. And yeah, the commission pays for your education because we want us.
To have a clue.
Right? To have a,
Familiar.
yeah.
Thank you.
And then there's also, there's a big fat book, which is about this thick. Did you find one in my office?
Now it's all
Oh,
online.
no, I didn't.
Okay, I can't remember if there's one there, but
I have one.
it's all online now, the fundamentals for conservation commissioners. It's been done by a group of people who've been working, mostly lawyers, who've been working in the conservation field for years. But it now comes as a DVD and that you can purchase through MAC. Again, that's reimbursable through the town accountant. And I can't think of anything else. I think that's.
Before we adjourn, we have another page on this that says upcoming business request for determination of applicability, Mass DOT resurfacing the turnpike, notice of intent for Peter and Kendra Wild, conservation agent, theater drainage, 20 Mackinac Shores. Are these things that are just going to keep showing up at the end of our meetings? Or
Probably for a while.
Well, and what was the feedback on performance standards?
We have to review them. So I will send them around to everybody.
Please do.
What I sent,
Review.
they edited further and they sent back.
Yeah.
Oh, Sally, one more thing for the new members too, is what is the CMR? It's been a while. CMR 10. It's a whole book of,
Yeah, you can.
is that the CMR 10? Oh, yeah, I've got a copy of that at home.
If you're feeling,
Different cover. It's the Code of Mass Regulations, CMR.
Right.
It's
And
really
10
technical,
covers that.
but more and more applicants are coming with lawyers. And so we really need to be able to refer to it because this is what we stand by.
Yeah.
this is what,
Thanks.
I will make copies of this, of the performance standards for people to look at.
Can you email it?
Yeah, I can email, I can email it. I'm surprised you didn't get it.
Can we make copies right now?
I can make copies right
That
now.
would be great.
Thank you.
Have to send it to her.
What is
When
it?
Do you have
we,
anything to sign?
when we adjourn, yes, we do.
Oh,
Things to sign, yeah.
I was on the list.
One,
Sorry, it wasn't.
one more thing, especially being that the performance standards are done. I think
Well,
when
they're
we,
not necessarily done. We
Well,
have to review what. the
we have to
town council
review
did.
them, but when we get done reviewing them, I think that there is a big voice in my head saying, we need to look at this, we need to understand it, and then we need to have Mr. Baldwin come in and meet with us. He is the front man, and
He's not gonna be there.
he's Eeyore, I know that, but I mean, the thing is that we need him to come in here and we need to say what we need to say to him with regard to how things need to work better so that we don't have applicants coming in here pulling out their hair and we're not sitting here pulling out our hair because they're pulling out their hair. I have spoken. I have
Yes.
nothing else to say.
Good luck with that.
What's a quick overview of the performance standards? I've been hearing you talk about.
You know, it is
What are you
more
referring?
than a few words.
It comes under the heading of too soon old, too late smart. What have we learned by getting bitten in the rear end? That's really what the performance standards are all about.
Our
So it's not
bylaw.
rules.
Yeah, no, it is, our
Okay.
bylaw says this commission can write performance standards.
Uh-huh.
That's what we did. It's gone back and forth to legal a few times, so it gives us another tool.
But this
to
is like
refer-
saying you don't use fertilizer and that type of stuff?
Yes. Yeah,
Instead of please, it's saying you don't.
right. Saying you can expect us to say. Really, that's what it says. You can expect us to require you to do or not to do this, that, or the other thing.
Is it also helpful saying, well, maybe you can use lime if you're allowed to, or what you should or should not do around the water?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mean.
Adds to the wetlands.
Okay.
The wetlands protection is statewide. This
Yep.
is specific to Stockbridge.
Providing somebody's eyes see it.
Yeah.
That's
the other thing.
the thing that kind of is worrying.
There's nothing that protects endangered species, right? But in our local act, endangered species are protected, correct, Sal?
Right, the Wetlands Protection Act protects the habitat, does not protect the critter.
Right.
So it's a tough one, like, and also, for instance, a vernal pool is protected under our bylaw, but it's not really protected from the state. It's not protected in which is really odd to me because it's such an important little thing. I don't have it. I had to print up here today with yet another one of the conclusions that went on today.
Apparently,
So,
The name's right here, let's.
We know that.
Show me that there was a student.
that is the town of Stockbridge, Water Chestnut.
Studied the little pools in Stockbridge. So
Can we
that
get a
actually
copy?
gave us a good map.
Oh, nice.
But I always.
Of this, of the performance standards, yes, I will make
Get on the
copies.
water.
Do we have any other business to take care of tonight?
I don't think so.
No.
Lisa?
I think we're good.
You want a motion to adjourn?
That would probably be good.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna
Have fun.
I'm gonna run, make